Hello all, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to the newest episode of the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast, taped live at the Twitch and brought to you on YouTube, on Spotify, on Google and Apple Podcasts. I'm Austin. I'm a knockout. I've watched a lot of wrestling.
I'm David. I'm a noob. Haven't watched nearly as much wrestling, but I'm at least 50 wrestling units in. So let's go, baby!
Yeah, this is our 50th episode.
Episode 50!
I'm treating it as a quasi anniversary show, 1 year anniversary show.
Close enough.
Close enough. But either way, this is a big number, and this is super exciting. How that we've been basically a year into this.
Yeah,
journey.
Over a year at this point.
Mm-hmm. David has gone from being but a noob, my friend who just like listens to me ramble about wrestling every once in a while and is like, this seems neat, to now he's a fan.
Yeah, now I ramble about wrestling to other people. The cycle perpetuates itself.
It's very much like a virus.
It really
infected you.
I have been infected with the wrestling virus, far deadlier than any Rona out there. Maybe it is deeply infectious, and I hope one day to be the ultimate super spreader.
Oh, dude!
This podcast. It is my goal for this podcast to be the #1 super spreader. Okay, put that on a shirt.
Out of context quote.
I see absolutely nothing wrong with that statement, okay?
To be fair, that statement also makes no sense out of context.
Exactly. So it's the best kind of quote. No sense in context or out of context. Some sense in context, and in both contexts, vaguely disturbing.
Fair. So, what are we gonna do today?
That's a great question.
We have our 25th episode was Hulk rules. Great times were had. No guests today. Instead, what we're doing today is a very special idea that I've had for a couple of months now. We are doing a mystery. I have been inspired by other podcasts that do do reviews of various content, and they do it completely randomly. And I'm like, hey, what if we did that with our thing? And as thankfully on the internet, there are random WWE network show generators, where they just randomly give you something that's on the WWE network.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little out of date now because, they've moved to Peacock, so nothing gets added to the WWE network anymore. But that's good because I don't really want to do anything newer than May 2021 anyway.
Hey-o!
So, what we are going to do is we are going to use this little generator, and we're going to get a random episode of wrestling TV to watch. This is legit. I didn't pre-pick it. I don't know what we're going to watch. I don't know how much I'm going to know about what we're going to watch.
Oh, man, this is wild. Wild, dude. It's wild to me that there's, actually a generator for this specifically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen a couple of them actually exist on the internet for people to be like, hey, I just want to watch a match.
Yeah,
just sit down and watch some wrestling. So just pick it for me.
Somebody
Network.
RNG this.
Yeah, RNG, right. And so, before I do the roll, and we're gonna do this randomizer live on this show. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, I'm actually going to share my browser screen, and I'm gonna pull up the website on the camera.
Yeah, baby.
But here's two main ground rules before we start. Number one, we're not doing anything that I already have on my calendar for this podcast to do.
Okay.
That's because I have plans and ideas here, and I don't want to ruin that by this random generator fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that's probably the most relevant is that me and David, as usual, have a limited time to record this week. If you haven't been with us during our episodes with pay-per-views, then what we do with those is we cut them down to a couple of hours. Obviously, because I'm doing this live on the spot right now, I can't do that.
Yep.
So if we draw something that is a pay-per-view or likely an episode of Raw after they went to 3 hours.
3 hours, fuck.
I can't believe our first episode of the show was us watching one of those Raws, actually.
Yeah, that was
and
so
our first
wild.
one with Claire was also one of those
was it?
linked episodes.
That
yeah,
was
because
20.
Yeah, Christmas 2012 would have been 3-hour Raws by that point.
Wait, they went 3 hours as early as 2012? Oh.
Yeah, June 2012 was when they went to 3 hours.
God, I thought it was later than that. I forgot. Damn.
My whole fandom has been basically when it was 3 hours, because I started watching in January 2012.
Man,
but anyway,
God bless AEW for having manageable show lengths.
God bless SmackDown for going to 3 hours too.
Yeah, true.
So if we get something like that, then I will re-roll, because we don't really have time to watch the full-length version of any of that today.
Unfortunate.
Now, of course, mathematically, odds are decent that this isn't going to be a problem, because there's a lot of matches on the network.
Yeah.
But just want to go ahead and throw that out there of our restrictions to when I say random. And if we hit one that is going to be a problem, then I'm just going to re-roll it, and we'll watch that.
Perfect. Works for me.
All right, time to share the screen. Let's go. Whoa. Okay, this is where we are now. For people who are listening, we are on a Reddit page that has the link to the network randomizer. And here it is. We are now on the random generator. Now, obviously, just pulling it up already gives me an answer here. Here is an episode of WCCW from 1985. But I would rather have like a real spin moment to it. So this is just showing off this little random generator hoo-ha.
Yeah.
All right. So time to spin the wheel. And okay, tonight.
I don't see. Wait, hold up. I don't see I just see the generator page. I don't see the wheel.
Oh, did that not come up?
It didn't come up.
Oh, that's sad. Okay, this is sad. I had this whole thing. The page didn't come up on share screen. I don't know why, to be honest. But
unfortunate. So
what we are going to watch today, holy shit.
Oh no.
Is an episode of WCW Monday Nitro.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
February 12th, 2001.
Wait, what?
Oh my Lord. We're going to be in the middle of the death knell of, okay, we're going to stop sharing screen. We're going to talk about this a little bit. What I do know about it and what I can tell you is going on here. Some context. Wow. Okay. We, especially considering that our last episode and one of our major story arcs we just finished was kind of the rise of WCW Nitro.
The rise and the look. It's already very clear how the fuck this is going to fall of WCW.
So what we're going to watch today is an episode of Nitro from 2001. Now, for some people who don't know the full wrestling timeline, WWE buys out WCW and thus ends Nitro at the end of March of 2001. This is the death knell. This is the final outwakes of WCW. We are going to be in the last days of WCW. And 2001 is I've always heard is a fascinating time because it's basically like WCW figured out their own shit, but it was too late.
Uh-oh.
So I'm curious. So I can't give you a lot of context for this episode, but I can give you a context for WCW in 2001, which is to say it's not going great. Basically, to not give away too much from future conversations about the NWO storyline, basically it got too overbloated and they had some key narrative moments where they could have paid it off. and they didn't, and they decided to keep it going. And
Uh-oh.
that, along with the WWE hitting kind of its own kind of high peaks in the Attitude Era, drove a lot of their audience away. They tried to fix this problem in 1999 by hiring Vince Russo away from WWE to become their head writer, and it went disastrously. The year 2000 in WCW is like one of the greatest comedy of errors that exists in wrestling history. It's a company throwing shit at the wall, hoping anything would stick, and none of it does. It's Vince Russo with absolutely no creative filters, allowed to just do whatever stupid idea comes to his head.
Oh no.
And we could talk all about how terrible that was, but we're not doing WCW 2000. By 2001, Vince Russo had already left WCW. He didn't really enjoy being there. It was a creatively stressful job, and the ratings were shit, and his crass style of writing kind of rubbed Turner Brass the wrong way.
Okay.
And he basically wanted out of wrestling, and so he left. And so he left WCW by the end of the year in 2000. And so by this point, Eric Bischoff, I believe... No, Eric Bischoff isn't creatively... Eric Bischoff is also retired from being creative at this point, because it also stressed him out.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember who's running the company at this point, but somebody is, and they're putting on TV. But probably the more relevant thing to talk about is that by this point, if you know your bad business mergers of the early 2000s, then you know that by now Time Warner and Turner Media have already merged, and then they merged with AOL.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that.
Yeah, this was this isn't a podcast about bad business moves, but to make it quick, it was terrible and didn't work.
Shocker.
As it relates to WCW, the two mergers pretty much pushed Ted Turner out of power within Turner Media. He basically became at best a figurehead of the company. And once Ted Turner didn't have the unilateral ability to veto anybody wanting to get rid of WCW, well, it wasn't long for the world, especially when in the year 2000, the company lost a fuckload of money. Like, we're talking, like, I forget if it's $30 million in 2000 or $50 million in the year 2000.
Fuck.
It was bad all around. And one more final nail of the coffin, really, is you look at Jamie Kellner, who was an executive for it at Time Warner, who took over it around this time and wanted to completely revamp all of their Warner Media broadcasting, and he had absolutely no time for this stupid fucking wrestling stuff.
Oh, God.
So the year 2001, especially around this time, basically Eric Bischoff was he had a group of investors, and he was hoping to buy WCW away from Turner Media. And I don't remember the exact timeline of when Turner did this, but I'll tell you why it failed. It failed because in this point in time, Turner just straight up canceled WCW Nitro. And because of the fact that they couldn't get any assurances that WCW would still be airing on TV, Eric Bischoff's investors backed out. WCW had no worth without having a TV contract. So WCW has no value to anybody except for one company without a TV show. Thus the only company that has any value to them is the WWE.
So it was, I mean, look, I understand that the way this started to work kind of past the 80s was that the big money was in TV. You got money out of touring, but the big money was in TV. But really, it had absolutely zero worth for what it presented on tour, zero worth for the potential it could have to be put back on TV. Nothing.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff couldn't get anybody to... Eric Bischoff was basically caught between a rock and a hard place here. He couldn't get his investors involved because they wanted to have an assurance that they would be on TV. He couldn't get any TV company to pick him up because he had no assurances that he had investors to buy the company.
Okay, damn, when you say comedy of errors.
Yeah, it was basically... Eric Bischoff was basically selling the idea of having a TV show and money to having money. Like, he was selling the idea of like, when he was pitching to other TV networks about WCW, he was pitching hypothetical money. The hypothetical money only coming in if they agree to take his TV show. He had no guarantees on either side of the equation.
Jesus, that's a desperate move. Oh, buddy.
One final little piece to this equation, of course, also is that remember that lawsuit way back with about the Outsiders.
Yeah.
Part of the resolution of that lawsuit that took years, by the way, gave WWE, I don't know if it was full right of first refusal, but WCW had to offer them if they were going to sell, WWE had to be given an offer.
What the fuck? Wait, what?
Again, I'm a little shaky on some of the details of this lawsuit, but that was a direct connection to all of this, which is all to say that WCW was sold to the WWF in March of 2001 for about $5 million. That's it.
Okay, so who did that payout go to? Eric Bischoff?
Turner, because Turner still is the one who owned WCW. It was an extremely small investment, and multiple wrestlers have made jokes before that, like, if they had known how cheap WCW was, they would have made an offer.
Huh?
But essentially it went for so cheap because all that exists are the pre-existing wrestler contracts and the WCW IP and tape library, which is not of super huge value to anyone that isn't looking to do wrestling.
Okay, this is wild to me. So the lawsuit took years. Like, how many years are we talking?
Like, it didn't resolve till the year 2000. They fought in court over this for 4 years.
Jesus. Okay. The fact that the right of first refusal thing had to have been on purpose. Like Jesus Christ. Again, I don't know the full details, but God, this had to have been some purposeful move on the part of the WWE to seize on what WCW had to offer. Like, they had to know the writing was on the wall for the death of the company, and they had to know that they had assets that they could use and wrestlers that they could use. And moreover, they would then have control of one of the most popular long-running storylines in the entire history of wrestling. That was the whole reason they got into this situation in the fucking first place.
Even beyond just storylines, WCW was their last major competitor on the marketplace from the territory days. They were the one territory that never died, and buying WCW was WWF's ability to finally win.
WWF had to have put the right of first refusal clause on the table, right? That had to have been that.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that was their call. That was one of their stipulations.
Oh my God! So this was a move that was being made very much on purpose. Holy shit! That's diabolical.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of poetic and like kind of poetically tragic on the part of WCW. Like
is
the fact that they got themselves into this situation in the first place by creating the thing that would give them any semblance of competition with the WWF was what ultimately set the stage for the final nail in their coffin. That's insane.
Yeah, it 100%. But for now, we are going to February 2001, where the company is just kind of, again, they're trying to just move on, right? They've gotten over the hump of 2000 that was a disastrous year for everybody, and please, let's not try to remember it too fondly. But they're a company that like knows that it doesn't have a lot of future. Its future looks bleak, but it's not for sure yet. And they're just trying to keep the wheels going while they still can.
Yup. That's so freaking wild.
But anyway, to get back to the wrestling, I don't know anything about WCW 2001. I mean, I know like the big players in my head. I can tell you some of the big wrestlers, but in terms of like storylines or what everybody's doing, I don't know, man. So this is going to be exciting for me to be able to give a perspective of something that I don't really have a lot of foreknowledge on.
That's so wild. It's a completely infoless front half in terms of storyline. We're both going in blind now.
Yeah, kind of just filled the time talking about the death of WCW since, well, we're here now.
The serendipity is insane.
I know. It was completely random. Again, I wish that the screen share would have worked and you could have seen it. But like legit, could just press the randomizer button. Did not plan that.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
All right. Well, if you would like to watch the February 12th, 2001 episode of Nitro with us, then you can do that by Peacock, WWE's American streaming service partner. Yes, Peacock is kind of trash, but it's all you got. $4.99 a month with ads, $9.99 a month without ads gets you access to all of WCW's network content. And having that WCW tape library, very helpful to the network.
Yep. Bit of a boon.
Yep. One last thing I'm going to throw out there. I don't know if by this point WCW had bought ECW, but we're close. If they haven't done it already by February 2001, they were almost there.
So WCW bought up ECW and then both got absorbed into the WWE.
Oh, no, excuse me. WWE bought
ECW.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Is by now, if ECW hasn't been absorbed into WWE, we're not far away from
had a ton of like ECW stuff on anyway. Like, wasn't the whole like Jeff Jarrett thing ECW or what was that like external title that we watched?
NWA.
NWA.
That's
okay.
Different.
Okay.
But ECW, I'm not going into that history, but suffice it to say, by 2001, it was also hanging on by its last legs.
Yeah, you've hinted at it before.
Yeah, because I've been trying to save a history of it for when we actually do an ECW episode. But basically, 2001 was WWE's chance to buy both of its biggest rivals at the same time.
Jesus. Well, good for you, Vince. Glad you got your birthday presents or whatever.
Good times.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will see you in the back half, where we'll be talking about WCW in the year 2001.
Oh boy.
Yep. And we are back. We have just finished the February 12th, 2001 episode of WCW Nitro, and this whole random thing was a mistake. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea.
Look, I'm going to make this mean something by the end of this episode, okay? But for now, let's just revel in the fact that what we just watched was, that was an episode of wrestling.
Yep, among the many episodes of wrestling I've watched, that was certainly one of them.
I have now officially watched 50 units of wrestling.
Yep.
Oh God. I can't even give it that distinction in reality. We've done double episodes and I've watched wrestling things outside of stuff for this podcast, so man. Anywho. But this was a time when you said death knells of WCW. You weren't kidding.
This was a little more dead than I thought it was going to be. I thought the corpse had a little bit more life in it.
That's the thing. I think you're touching on something when you're referring to the lack of life in the corpse, because man, this has no life in it. This had no vivacity, very little energy. It just seemed to be going through the motions.
Yep. Like stuff is just kind of happening.
And it doesn't help that we're just thrown into the middle of this with very little context. But
like half of it, I don't think would be better if I was following along.
Yeah, like you're kind of able to pick up via context clues what's going on, and none of it seems compelling. Like I was thinking about this toward the end of the episode. We get DDP versus freaking
Jeff Jarrett and Canyon. You see, that's one of the few I think if I was following along, I might care more.
Potentially. But like, yeah. I was looking at that one specifically, and it got me in the mind of something that actually happened this week in AEW with CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. And thinking about that, now, sure, you give the example, you think this is one you think might be better in context, but like, if you were to sit somebody down in front of these two promos, a different person, one person sits down in front of one promo, other sits down in front of the other promo, no context given to either of them. You sat them down in the middle of that, the person watching Jarrett and DDP would be like, okay, it's just two dudes yelling at each other. Person watching fucking Punk versus Kingston would be like, holy shit, these two dudes are yelling at each other and they're going hard. Like, even if with context, the whole thing will probably be better because DDP and Canyon probably and Jarrett, who I guess is involved in this, are good wrestlers. Like, there's still a lack of energy to it, and it still feels like it's going through those motions and not really putting much thought into what it's presenting. So even if it works better with context, I feel like the substance still just lacks so hard.
Yeah, and like, oh boy, our first time going through WCW, you put a lot of emphasis on presentation of WCW, of Nitro, and how you thought that was kind of exciting and interesting. And this is not that.
This is
presentationally, it's disaster.
It's a different beast entirely. And I want to say, too, on that note, as we went on in our WCW arc, it did slowly... by the time we got to Hog Wild, it felt toward the end like it was trying to be a little more of a WWF mimic than it was earlier on, like when the NWO storyline first hit. Am I speaking out of turn with that, or is that kind of legit?
I'd probably need more explanation of what you mean by that. I'm not immediately seeing it.
Like, the presentation I talked about at the beginning was, it felt kind of a similar thing of what AEW has versus WWE, of it's focusing more on the in-ring work, focusing more on making it feel like a legitimate sport. As the NWO storyline went on early on, the presentation was different in that while it was leaning on the entertainment aspect more like WWF did, it did something really unique with it. By the time we got to Hog Wild, it didn't feel that those two distinct things didn't feel as present to me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But this is something else entirely. This is like, okay, we start off the show in media res,
which is already a red flag to me.
Oh my god, huge red flag. I want to know why.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, I don't want to be one of those people who, like, says any wrestling show could be someone's first wrestling show. Mm-hmm. But we are just immediately kind of thrown into a match with just barely any context. The commentators are desperately screaming, like, trying to explain weeks worth of storylines to you so that you understand why this is happening right now. And it's like what?
Oh my god. Tony Schiavone is putting in the work in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Tony Schiavone is an absolute gem of the wrestling industry.
He is.
And he's one of the best parts of this episode because he's just trying so hard. And God, WCW didn't deserve him by the end of their run. Jesus Christ. But I'll speak more. I'll elaborate more on this as we go on in this episode. But one of the things I wrote down early on was that this has a messy energy. And it was hard to articulate at first. And then as the show kind of went on, I was able to kind of piece together this idea that it feels understructured, for one. Like, there seems to be a distinct lack of strong, cohesive, well thought out structure here. And on top of that, am I crazy, or did this just feel like wrestling show the wrestling show? Like, this whole episode felt like a highlight reel of wrestling tropes fucking hodgepodge together in a not particularly tasty casserole.
I do see that. And I would like to point out that you talk about how it's got this, like, messy, disorganized structure. And it sure also did have 1,000 things going on.
Yeah! And that's the thing, is we get thrown in the middle of fucking nowhere. Ric Flair comes out screaming that Dustin Rhodes doesn't work for the company anymore because it's Dustin Rhodes versus Rick Steiner.
I'm going to throw out here what I'm pretty sure the story is based on what they say in this episode. Okay. So Ric Flair is the owner of WCW right now, kayfabe. And he has his group of dudes that are called the Magnificent Seven, and it's like Road Warrior Animal, Buff Bagwell, Lance Storm, Lex Luger, above average Mike Sanders. That's his name, by the way. His nickname is Above Average. Top notch.
Quality.
The Steiners, and I think that's the whole group. And they tried to, like, get, like, Dustin Rhodes to join their group, and he told them no. And so now Ric Flair's trying to fire him, except not only is Ric Flair the owner, but you have this wrestler, Ernest the Cat Miller, who's like a karate dude, but he also is the commissioner. And so it's a power struggle, and he's on Dustin Rhodes' side.
Yeah.
And we get this match where Rhodes and Rick Steiner are having a match, and then Ric Flair just shows up in the middle of it and is like, end this match right now, because Dustin Rhodes, you don't work here. You're never working here ever again. Get out. You're fired. Security, he brings a bunch of security dudes, and he's like, escort this man out of the building. You're out of here.
Yeah, the pace feels insanely rushed. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like they're taking any time to let any of this shit kind of sink in. And again, maybe with context, if we had done a whole thing leading up to this would have felt like, I don't know, a culmination of some sorts. But I doubt it still would have felt particularly well organized or well presented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, if the presentation in a lot of ways, the lack of structure and how kind of chaotic it feels, and the fact that it's just there's nothing unique to the writing. It's just people screaming wrestling tropes at each other. That's it. Like, it's so fucking generic. And
I think there's one thing unique on this show, storyline wise. We'll get to that. I think
we'll get to that. But I kind of had this realization with how awkward and stilted and generic this all feels. God, in some ways, this feels only about a step above Wrestlicious in terms of storytelling.
Oh,
and only
Lord.
Okay, tell me I'm wrong. Please
See, I don't think
wrong.
I can make a solid argument against that because
what was Wrestlicious? Awkward and poorly structured and chaotic and fucking generic.
Yeah. I think the only advantage that WCW has immediately in terms of storytelling is that their characters aren't all like fetishes.
Fetishes fabricated out of whole cloth.
Yeah. I think that's the best I can do.
They have an established history. Well, the thing I will then go on to say is, it's only a few steps above Wrestlicious in overall presentation, mostly because there's a stronger production value and mainstream appeal.
That helps too.
That's how painful this was to watch. And it wasn't fun in a lot of ways like Wrestlicious. This was fucking boring half the time.
It's not bad. That's what I was concerned about, is that WCW in 2000 has a reputation for being like the so bad it's good of wrestling.
Yeah.
The real Tommy Wiseau shit. I was afraid 2001 might just be competent enough to be boring.
The fake Tommy Wiseau shit.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's absolutely what this was, because none of it was good, but it wasn't so bad that I can think it's that funny.
There were a few things I found funny, and that's about it. But yeah, just off the bat, this is weird. I just don't. It was also what the fuck, just all thrown out at once. Why did we start in the middle of a match? Why were they scrambling to give context? And why did we?
And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you what I hate. I'll explain what I really hate about the starting in the middle of this match, like when we get later in the show. But there's I have one big gripe with it. This, like, the match in particular that we started in the middle of.
Okay.
But anyway, back to kind of explaining what goes happening here is that Ric Flair, he like tries to throw Dustin Rhodes out, and then out comes Ernest the Cat Miller, and he's like, hey, no, Dustin, he is not fired. I'm keeping him on. I reinstated him.
I'm the commissioner.
Yes, and apparently Ric Flair and Ernest Miller have equal authority, and
Sure.
so Ric Flair, but also Ric Flair has the power to put Ernest Miller in matches, and so he does.
Yeah,
he puts Ernest Miller in a match with Lance Storm, who is again part of the Magnificent Seven, and the winner will become the commissioner, and to make sure it's all above board, the referee is above average Mike Sanders.
Yo, yeah, totally unbiased ref there.
Yeah, this is all going to be completely above board.
Yeah, Mike Sanders, by the way, who fucking comes prepared with a referee shirt
dude
underneath.
Shows up. Dude, when he first comes out, he's in a full suit, and he takes his suit shirt off, and he has a referee shirt just on, as if he was prepared for this possibility.
Yeah, which is really funny. When again we pull back, and you know what, for a 50th episode, pseudo anniversary episode, great way to call back to one of my earliest memes on this show is we want to talk about bad planning on your show. How the fuck does Ric Flair have the foresight to have above average here fucking come out with a ref shirt underneath his suit for the possibility that maybe he's gonna throw Ernest the Cat into a match for the commissionership?
Like, he just knew that Ernest Miller was gonna start shit tonight and give him an excuse to do this?
But we have one of the most insane declared in the middle of the episode main events I've ever seen on this show. So he has the foresight for that, but not the foresight for the insane shit that goes down that brings us to the main event. What in the name of God?
Yeah,
this guy's even worse at planning his shows mid-episode than Vince McMahon is.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I also feel like Ric Flair as a boss only slightly less unhinged than your typical Vince man. Just a little bit. Less unhinged.
Ric Flair comes off really sympathetic in this episode, as we'll get to.
I mean, he starts off fucking nuts, but
he's almost charming in how nuts he is.
A little bit, but it's still what the fuck.
Yeah.
Also, the, the dubbed over stock music about.
Yeah, okay. So context is by this point in time, Ernest Miller had been coming out to James Brown music. They even did a whole goddamn bit on pay-per-view where James Brown showed up to dance to like make an guest appearance with Ernest Miller. Okay. But obviously, WWE doesn't own the rights to rebroadcast that James Brown music. So they just dub over it. And his song is complete ass. Most of the songs on this episode are complete ass, but only one of them is a dub over.
Yeah, wait, was that dub even meant to come close to anything like what Ernest Miller's theme was?
I've never heard Ernest Miller's the regular theme, so I couldn't tell you. But
fair enough.
All I know is it sounded like shit.
Also, yeah, when we get into the match proper with Ric Flair and Ernest Miller,
is it a match though?
It's two dudes pretending to fight for a couple minutes and then a really weird attempt at a screw job, sort of. What?
If I have to give it anything, I appreciate they don't even act. They immediately like they don't even try to pretend like Mike Sanders is going to call this down the middle. Like he immediately starts throwing hands at Ernest Miller.
What really cracks me up is that Mike Sanders fucking gets knocked out in the middle of the match.
Twice! He gets knocked out twice!
He gets knocked out twice. But the first time, I think, I can't remember. You can't even fucking remember if it was the first time or the second time. Or wait, no, that was later. The double knockout was Dustin Rhodes versus Rick Steiner.
Yeah, that's the one where they knock out the same ref twice. The double knockout bit.
Yeah, but Rick Sanders gets knocked out during this match. And Ernest Miller grabs his arm as he pins Ric Flair and tries to do a count for him and still doesn't fucking get
he doesn't. No, that was insane. That was hilarious.
It was so stupid.
And then the funny thing is, the second time he doesn't even try that. The second time, it's a 2-on-1 fight where Ernest Miller also has to fight Mike Sanders, and he tries hard and he manages to get some good licks in, but oh fuck, the only referee in this match isn't going to legally count a pin for him, so he's kind of screwed the whole time. And it ends when Lance Storm puts Ernest Miller in a one-legged Boston Crab, and the referee and Mike Sanders just immediately calls for the bell. It's a phantom submission, classic screw job, but whatever.
So stupid. Why?
Oh. But then I think we get to the most insane part of this episode.
Yes.
Because out comes Ric Flair to usher out Ernest Miller and also kick his ass some more.
Yep.
He brings the whole Magnificent Seven with him to start putting boots to asses.
Yep.
And then Kevin Nash shows up on the video board.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Which is also, I made remark to this to David, is that especially looking at, I'm used to WWE's style of cinematography where when they do videos on the video board, they'll usually full screen show you the video.
Yeah.
WCW, they don't do that. They instead just film at the video board from a distance.
Quality production value, guys. We're doing a great job over here. Keep up the great technical work.
But anyway, Kevin Nash he's standing in this blank room somewhere in the back.
It's lit with colored lights as you do.
Yeah. And he's trying to start some shit. And he's like, "Yeah, you got all your boys out here, huh?" And Ric Flair's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Come on over here, Nash. All 7 of us are out here. We got to run out here. Woo! Get out here, get here and fight. Come on right now." And then Nash is like, "Oh, you got everyone, do you? You got all your bases covered? And Ric Flair's like, yeah, I do. We sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got everybody. And he's like, and Nash's like, are you sure? And he does this part of the bit longer than he needed to.
Yeah, it kind of ran for too long, but okay.
But then Ric Flair's like, yeah, I got everyone. And then Nash, we pan the camera down, and he's got David Flair, who is Ric Flair's son. And he's kidnapped and beaten David Flair. Kevin Nash is holding a hostage.
21-year-old David Flair.
He's being held hostage.
What the fuck? Kevin Nash is a face. Why is he performing a hostage?
He is. And so he's like, oh, your boy, nothing more is gonna happen to him if you meet my demands. And his demands are that he gets a world title match tonight with Scott Steiner, the world champ. And not only that, is he's like, you boned Dustin Rhodes, his words, and tonight. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna give him a rematch with Rick Steiner tonight. And when he wins, and he will, he's going to get reinstated.
Oh my god. And like David Flair is fucking sitting here looking terrified, like kind of black eyes.
Yeah,
over his mouth. Like, why did we have to drag Ric Flair's son into this to get what the shit?
David Flair has wrestled on WCW TV before. He's a regular character, but still, what the fuck?
Kind of like, yeah, you're supposed to be the good guys. You're not doing. This is the NWO shit. Early, like, why are you doing this now that you're a face? What? And also, God, I'm sorry. Nash is so fucking unrefined on mic. He's so awkward. He stumbles over his words.
He completely flops one of his line about Dustin Rhodes getting reinstated on the roster.
Oh my god. Yeah, he's not great at speaking off the cuff. We've noticed if you notice that adjective play, if you know what I mean.
No. and like I told David when we were watching, Kevin Nash has a very specific niche of like emotion that he's good at. And it's like, he's cool. He's good at being like cool and detached. And also when he's kind of being a deadpan snarker, he's good at that too. But when he's expected to kind of be like this fired up, charismatic babyface who's holding a hostage, he just kind of sounds bored the whole time.
Yeah, he sounds, I don't even know. He sounds vaguely bored, and also just like he's struggling to figure out what the hell to even say in the first place. Mm-hmm. It was a little hard to watch, and we were just too busy cracking up at the fact that Kevin Nash is holding 21-year-old David Flair hostage. So he can get a title match and I guess get Dustin Rhodes' job back.
And here's something that's super stupid, is that I'm pretty sure that Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner were already scheduled to have a title match on pay-per-view 6 days from this show.
So what the hell?
And he's holding the man hostage so he can get him 6 days early.
Nash, God, this buddy. Really think about what you're doing here. Well, I want to know what Kevin Nash's in kayfabe rationale for this was. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna casually kidnap this dude. I'm totally not gonna face any sort of like job or legal repercussions for this. Nothing wrong with
this. I mean, this is wrestling. Nobody calls the cops for anything except Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the McMahons are the only people that call the cops in wrestling.
True. We'll call the cops on Stone Cold, and that's about it.
Nope. Everything else, we're just going to sell it in the ring.
Sell it in the ring. God.
And so Rick early, he immediately kind of acquiesces to his demands in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you got it. But then we get backstage, and Ric Flair is sending above average to go hunt for Kevin Nash. Find his son, save his son, man.
Yup. Also, I love that a little later on we get tonight ? About the
yes.
the match.
Like, well, while they're still promoting the store, we'll get to we'll get to why they have tonight, ?
Yeah.
But so before that, there's 2 more promos we got to talk about before we get to the second
yeah.
match of this show. Is we get Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger are hanging out in the back where Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo are. They are the tag team champions and otherwise have no character that I could discernibly talk to you about. Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger, if you don't know them, they're big beefy boys who like showing off how beefy they are. Anyway, they are making the sales pitch to Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo that they should join the Magnificent Seven. That's making it the Magnificent Nine, of course. Unless they choose to not change the name, which would be very funny. And if they do that, then the Magnificent Seven, they got all the gold. They got all the championships with them. So they're making the hard sales pitch, and Palumbo and O'Haire are just kind of sitting there, not really reacting to it. It doesn't come up again tonight, but I assume it has long-term repercussions. I hope it does anyway.
Yeah, maybe. God, it was so random, and I was just like, okay, this is a thing that's happening. Whatever fucking substance of that flew completely out of my mind. So kudos to you for remembering what the hell was going on.
Yeah. And then we get Mike Sanders that guy's getting to work all night. But so he shows up in the locker room where Dustin Rhodes is. I would like to remind you that at the beginning of the show, Ric Flair had like a dozen security guards show up to escort Dustin Rhodes out of the building because he's fired. And yet, a half hour later, here is Dustin Rhodes sitting just by himself in the locker room, no security guards in sight.
Yeah, the great internal logic. What?
He even, like, I forgot this part, but like in that initial Nash hostage promo, Ric Flair even tries to argue that he can't meet his demands because Dustin Rhodes has already left the building. And Kevin Nash is like, well, sounds like a you problem to fix, not me.
See, that was a good bit right there.
Mm-hmm. And so, but apparently Dustin Rhodes never fucking left. The security guard just dropped him off at the locker room and just left and didn't take him anywhere.
He's just still there. It's just still there. Oh my God. Why? It's really funny to me. And I almost can't wrap my head around how cartoonishly inept this all is, because this reads like a parody of a wrestling company that's on the brink of collapse. It feels too perfect that they are just as fucking inept on air in real time as it would suggest that they're like currently financially crumbling and about to be bought up by the WWF. Mm-hmm. Like it's insane just how on the nose their own failures are here. It's so funny.
Yeah. And so Dustin Rhodes, who, by the way, is playing I'm a Texan. That's his character now. He's not. We've seen
honestly a lot more dignified than fucking Goldust. I'll take it.
But admittedly, Goldust is more memorable. So, it's up to you.
I don't care. Sure, Goldust is more memorable than vanilla Dustin Rhodes, but he's also a lot more dignified and gives Dustin Rhodes the fucking respect he deserves as a good, goddamn, really talented in-ring worker. I'm not complaining.
Anyway, old above average is like, hey Dustin, you want to wrestle Rick Steiner tonight and you get your job back? And Dustin Rhodes is like, dude, I know I saw what happened out there. You're only asking me because doing that would help save Ric Flair, and fuck him. So no, yep. I decline.
Yeah, Dustin playing it actually kind of smart here.
Yeah, and then our second match of the night, Lash Larue versus Yang.
Yeah. Oh, it was really funny because Yang walks out and Austin's immediately like, I can tell this guy's Japanese just from the music, just because of
Yeah,
course they have to be the most like stereotypical "I'm from Japan" music.
lot of stereotypically Asian music
You
going
know,
on in
in
wrestling.
some ways, it still hasn't gotten better considering Shinsuke Nakamura's theme is literally called the fucking Rising Sun. But
Yeah, it's a little bit better in that I don't think they would ever use an Oriental jingle anymore. So
you know what? Fair. But dude walks out and Austin's and before we can like discernibly tell even fucking what his face looks like, Austin's like, oh, this guy's Japanese, isn't he?
Yeah,
and then
it's Japanese guy.
and then it hits that his name is goddamn Yang. Is that his real name? Is that a name he picked out?
That is his real. That is his real name.
Okay, that makes it better. It's not fucking WCW looking at an Asian person being like, what if we just named this person Ching Chang? Like, like it's okay. There's some that okay, fine, sure. At least that wasn't a name that was picked out for him. Because if it were, that would just feel like, oh god, guys.
Right. So as a little context, the two cruiserweight matches we have tonight are basically the winners get to go to a big match, multi-man match on the pay-per-view to become number one contender to the cruiserweight title.
Indeed.
So that's what they're fighting for. I suppose I should try to describe Lash Larue.
What is there to describe?
He throws up L's with his fingers.
Yeah.
And, like, goes, woo! Or whatever.
Yeah, when he comes out, he's got, like, a fucking silver shirt and, like, those, like, small, circular, tinted sunglasses things. So maybe they're going for kind of, like, a hipster-ish character with him. But it just, not memorable.
Yeah. Not the least memorable characters on this show. We'll get to them.
We'll get to them.
But, like, yeah... I don't really know what Lash Larue's reputation is as a wrestler. Is he well liked? I don't know.
He seemed okay enough in ring, probably bolstered by the really good work that Yang was doing.
Oh yeah, Yang was doing great when he wasn't doing like stereotypical karate shit.
Okay, yeah, is that a signature of his, or was that a WCW invention?
I've never seen him. To be fair, I've never seen him wrestle before, so I couldn't tell you. But,
yeah, no, he's doing this fucking like I do kung fu like fake gesturing.
He does the grasshopper whatever.
Oh, grasshopper crane, crouching tiger.
The crane, you know what I'm talking about when I say it.
Yeah.
And he does like a bunch of spin kicks.
Yeah. Which
show off his martial arts skill. Sure. But after we get past that, he's actually pretty sweet.
He's a pretty good flippy boy, and I appreciate that. Really funny that one of the commentators refers to Lash Larue as Lance Larue, as Austin pointed out.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone fucks up.
That's Schiavone? Oh, no. Man, I feel like that's really indicative of this guy's status in the halls of wrestling history.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you again?
Yeah, who are you? I will say is that something that it's kind of fun for me is that like between these two wrestlers I've never watched before. There's something fun, like the concept of the finishing move and like everybody has the one move they win every single match with is this kind of accepted wrestling lore, and you kind of learn to get over it in terms of like how that makes the ending of matches relatively predictable. But I will say it's fun to watch a match between two dudes I've never wrestled before. So I have absolutely no idea what their finishing move is supposed to be. So like every big move they hit, I'm like, wait, is that the end?
Yeah. There is a kind of fun lack of predictability there. That's kind of the upside of going into this with absolutely no context. And I did notice that too I didn't fully click or articulate it, but I did kind of have that sense throughout the match of, man, I don't know when this is gonna end. These guys are just kind of going at it, and it's a continuous back and forth. And who knows on any level the way this is going to end, because I don't know anything about these characters or their movesets or their place in the story.
Yeah. I won't say it's so good. You should go out. You should definitely go out of your way to watch it. But like, it was a really fun match.
It's like probably the highlight of this episode.
Oh, I would definitely call it the highlight. Yang.
Also, this was the match I noticed where like there are mats around the ring, which on a safety for your workers level I appreciate because the modern companies don't really do that.
No, man, just boom,
you go out and
on
you
the floor.
Oh man, so I appreciate that. Maybe that's a practice we should bring back. You know, make people hurt themselves a tiny bit less.
Yeah, but anyway, Yang gets the dub with a corkscrew moonsault that looked pretty fucking sick, even if he mostly kind of landed on Lash Larue's head with it. Other than that, pretty sick.
Yeah, great acrobatic skills. You know, he's a cruiserweight. That's kind of how they do. Cool, waka waka. That's. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Then we go back to the backstage where Mike Sanders is trying to explain to Ric Flair that he's found Dustin, but where he hasn't agreed yet, and we're working on it. And Ric Flair's like, "What the fuck, man? Give him that match."
Yeah, promise him anything is what
promise
Ric Flair
him anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and Mike Sanders goes back to Dustin Rhodes and is like, "Well, okay, I'll give you anything you want."
Yeah,
and Dustin's like, anything I want, eh?
Yeah, of course. And it's immediately Austin points out the very far choice of words.
Yes. And so Dustin, he basically goes, if I win tonight, I want a rematch with Rick Steiner on the pay-per-view for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
Great. If you're keeping score, that is the first match of this show that becomes a rematch on a pay-per-view that is happening 6 days later. It will not be the last.
And it's also the second time. It's also the third time this match is going to happen because that same matchup is going to happen for the second time on this episode.
Yes. And so to cycle back to that starting in the middle of the match thing, probably the thing that annoys me the most about the fact that we started a match in the middle of it is that we then get the match again later on this show.
Yep.
So I had to watch it 1.5 times.
It's so stupid. And I guess that's probably why they started in the middle of the match, so you wouldn't have to watch it like 2 whole times, but then it just feels fucking useless. Like
it's just you could have structured this thematically so that you didn't just do that match twice.
Yeah. Or you could have at the very least made it so that Dustin Rhodes is fighting literally anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to mention is the tonight ? Bit is that it was after that first Mike Sanders Dustin Rhodes promo where they are advertising that Dustin Rhodes versus Rick Steiner are going to happen tonight, but also they don't know yet in stories, so they put tonight.
Yep, tonight. Same energy as the fucking Cards Against Humanity bees. It's so again, great planning on the part of Ric Flair. Good job. You're doing great, sweetie.
Yep. Backstage, we get an interview with Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing the Natural Born Thrillers, or half of them anyway. Sean Stasiak and Mark Jindrak. They are 2 muscly boys. That's all I got. And in fact, that Natural Born Thrillers thing I just mentioned, they were a stable, and they're all arrogant, muscly boys, and that's all I got for them too. But
yup, yeah.
To quickly summarize what's going on, quickly summarize what I'm pretty sure is going on here, is that basically they were all a group together. Sean Stasiak, Mark Jindrak, Chuck Palumbo, and Sean O'Hare. And then O'Hare and Palumbo won the tag titles, and Stasiak and Jindrak got jealous, and now the group is broken up, and Sean Stasiak is like, I carried that team. I'm the best member of the Thrillers, and Mean Gene is literally like, give me a break. But otherwise, whatever.
God, they made me forget a Mean Gene segment. How fucking could they? That shit was so generic, it dripped right the hell out of my mind. I was just like, oh, cool, Gene's here. Who are these guys? I don't care. Gene's here. Goodbye.
Yep. Then we get a quick backstage interaction between the Cat and DDP, where the cat's just feeling down that he lost his commissioner job, and DDP shows up like the motivational speaker that he is, and he's like, "Don't worry, guy. Don't worry, dude. Get back up again." He quotes Muhammad Ali at him or whatever, and Cat's like, "You right?" And
look, I get DDP is a super cool, helpful guy at IRL who's done really good for a lot of his peers, but can we lean on maybe a little bit more than that for his character, please?
No, this isn't even the last time that he will make like being a positive thinking motivational speaker his character. He'll do it in WWE too.
You know, that feels almost in poor taste, considering that the things he's known for doing with that skill are helping deeply troubled friends with drug problems stop having drug problems. That it feels a little cheap, but okay.
Well, then we go back. We're at a different place backstage, and for some reason, Ric Flair has Road Warrior Animal like choking Mike Sanders up against a wall. And Mike Sanders, he's like, "No, I got the match. And he told me, he's like, "Don't worry. Dustin has agreed to the match." And Ric Flair's like, all right. Yes. And then Sanders leaves, and Ric Flair tells Road Warrior Animal, like, "Listen, I know that Rick Steiner can handle Dustin Rhodes, but in case anything goes wrong, I want you out there to make sure Rick Steiner wins."
Which is so of course Rick's gonna influence the match, but I find it so freaking funny that Rick is just drawn to these desperate levels of doing whatever he can to kowtow to Nash's demands, but he's still gonna make some fucking attempt to screw the match. Like, that's gonna help in any way whatsoever.
Like Ric Flair's attempt at like getting back at Nash is that like technically Nash didn't stipulate that any of his boys had to win. So he'll give them the match and then just screw them out of winning.
He's not Ric Flair's not especially competent at hostage negotiation situations, I see.
Especially when, to be fair, when someone puts their mind to it, Nash was pretty easily found.
Yeah, which is also why the fuck wasn't Ric Flair setting people to look for Nash?
Apparently, Nash was in the fucking arena.
He was in the building. I also want to know who was helping him, like who was behind the camera,
like who set up the camera, who helped, did he do that all himself? Who gave him the power over TVs? We'll get to that actually.
We'll get to that, yeah. But there's no attempt on Ric Flair's part to put up any resistance. He just fucking crumbles immediately, like the bitch he is, I guess. Yeah. I thought Ric Flair had more self-respect than that. Jesus.
Guess not. No. Then we get a quick video package hyping up the Steiner brothers. It's whatever. And then we get Dustin Rhodes versus Rick Steiner again.
Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's not great.
So many shenanigans.
Yeah. I put specifically in my notes to laugh at the part where early in the match, Dustin kicks out at 2, and Rick Steiner goes over to complain at the referee. And he's like, "Yeah, that was 3." He's like, "I'll knock the shit out of you." And you very clearly picked up by the audio.
That's so funny. It's also really hilarious to me too that when Dustin Rhodes comes out, his theme, this is one of the ones, his theme music is so goddamn terrible. I thought it was another stock music dub over.
No, it's some generic, like, acoustic Texan sound.
Yeah, it sounds fake. It doesn't sound like a real song. Why is this his music when other people get to fucking license James Brown? Mm-hmm. What was this company?
A disaster, I'll tell you that much right now.
Yep.
So we eventually get through the match. It's whatever, it's a lot of Rick Steiner pounding on Dustin, and Dustin fighting back, and Dustin ends up accidentally getting a real bloodied up nose.
Yeah.
in the match. But we get to a part where eventually Rick Steiner gets so fed up with the referee that he literally throws him to the outside of the ring, only to immediately get rolled up by Dustin Rhodes, and the ref rolls back in and it's a 2 count. But then we get another, again, I forget who hits him accidentally, but the ref gets accidentally knocked out again.
A second time. What is even the point? Why are we trying to go for? Are we trying to go for some sort of shock value here?
I'm not the first to say this, but if every single one of your matches, or at least a lot of them, involve stupid shenanigans where the ref gets knocked out, it's not you've lost pretty much any shock value to it.
Or there's interference or anything. It's every single match. Why was this episode like this? Were all episodes of WCW at this point like this? Was this episode special for some reason?
Yeah. To my understanding, yes. They were very big on interference shit.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh, that's gonna... I just keep getting more and more material to add to my little, breakdown at the end of this. God, okay.
Anyway, Road Warrior Animal shows up. Shocker.
And then Franchise intervenes to counteract Ric Flair's
I was trying to remember how Dustin won this match anyway, and he shows up. It's Franchise Shane Douglas.
Yeah, Franchise interrupts a Road Warrior Animal's interruption.
And that leads to Dustin getting the win with a DDT. And he gets the pin. Hoorah. Rick Steiner versus Dustin Rhodes. If you like this match, don't worry. You'll get it. You can pay $60 to see it again in 6 days.
Why, it's so good. I think I'd like to have it a third time.
Anyway, after the match then is that Rick and the Road Warrior Animal shit can the both of them, and they then try to break Shane Douglas's other arm. Because for sake, Shane Douglas is currently out with a wrist injury. So he has this huge cast on his arm, which he uses to hit Rick Steiner, which is not good to do. Don't use the cast as a weapon.
No, that's a really mean bump, dude. Come on.
But then they stick his hand in a steel chair, folding chair, to try to snap his other arm, and Dustin Rhodes here I come to save the day, and then they just beat him up too.
Yeah, he gets yeeted pretty quickly when he shows back up, bro.
And then they also snap Shane Douglas's arm.
Yeah.
So you got him writhing around on the ground, being like, broken arm.
What was this? It's just bad wrestling trope after bad wrestling trope with very little cohesive tissue in between.
Yep. Then we get a backstage bit. Finally, the first appearance of Scott Steiner on this episode. I was kind of hoping this would be one of his episodes where he rambles like a madman, because that's something we need to experience on this show, but unfortunately not. But this was his first appearance, and David pointed out is that Kevin Nash has fucking TV control powers, because they're both just sitting in Ric Flair's office, and then Kevin Nash sends a new video only to Ric Flair out of the fucking CRT TV sitting in the office.
That it's really funny to see, because it's fucking tiny. It's a tiny ass monitor.
It's a very small monitor. I'm pretty sure my laptop screen is bigger than this monitor.
Oh yeah, no, this is fucking 2 foot by 2 foot or some shit. If that, maybe a foot by a foot. It's fucking size of my goddamn Tommy Was So signed picture here. So I guess as a perk of being an NWO member, you get the power to hijack TV signals or whatever. Because that's a perk. That's what the NWO did, right? And we're just playing our greatest hits at this point,
whatever.
Right?
So he continues to threaten Rick, and Rick is all panicked, and Scott Steiner's fuck this, I'm just gonna go find him.
Yeah, finally we get some investigative work. So Steiner and his girlfriend or whatever storm off.
Yeah, I believe that's his valet, Medeja. Is her name. I had to look her up for that because I don't think they say it on the show.
skimpily dressed valet Madeja accompanies him, and so Big Papa Pump goes storming off, and it's
And then we get our second cruiserweight match of the night: prime time Elix Skipper against Billy Kidman, and this.
Oh my god! I think
this is very important to talk about Elix Skipper.
Elix Skipper. Here's my first note on Elix Skipper. Dude gets on the mic, and the first fucking words that come out of his mouth are, "You stupid Americans." This is a black man, and they play him like he's from Canada. And like, oh my god, of course the black guy who's not from here is saying, "You dumb Americans," for heel heat. Are you shitting me? This is literally just a wrestling trope highlight show, you incompetent boobs. Mm-hmm. Stop leaning on the crutches of this dumb, tired out, kind of racist bullshit. Stop it. It's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. David kind of hinted at it also, by the way. He said Elix Skipper is not Canadian. He joined a Team Canada in storyline, and they pretended that he's from Canada, even though he isn't. And they gave him a kayfabe backstory of being a former Canadian football player, but he's not. And it's just so silly that they're pretending this guy is Canadian, who doesn't sound or look Canadian. But he says America sucks. So, USA, USA.
His whole ideology is hating America, as I remarked to Austin as we watched. The Tankies would love this guy. Dear God, it's so stupid. He doesn't
even have anything interesting to say. He literally is just like, "You Americans are
you
dumb
Americans." It's the most basic, stupid, unoriginal way to play heel heat. God.
Anyway, he wrestles Billy Kidman, who's just a dude who wrestles in a tank top and jean shorts.
Yeah, and I guess pinned Hulk Hogan once when Hulk Hogan was trying to, prove that he's not a complete egomaniac, according to Austin.
Cool. Yeah, that happened.
Cool.
Anyway, the match is fine. I don't think it's as good as Yang and Lash Larue, but, it's still one of the better parts of the show.
Yeah, not by a long shot is it better than Yang and Lash Larue. Dear God.
Mm-hmm. And Billy Kidman gets the dub. Woo-hoo.
Oh yeah, I feel very affected by this very memorable match.
And then here we go, another Mean Gene interview. This time with the Laughing Man, Hugh Morris.
God damn it, he's actually here. Why? Why am I actually encountering Hugh Morris on our 50th episode of all places?
We have managed to avoid the general huge erection era. He is back to being Hugh Morris.
What?
I have definitely referenced huge erection to you before.
I don't remember this. Oh,
yes.
Why? Why was he unironically huge erection?
That one was a Vince Russo one, if you'd be.
Of course it was!
Believe it.
Of fucking course it was! I want to do bad things to Vince Russo in Roblox.
Anyway, the old Laughing Man, he really gets into the gimmick because he just kind of giggles at random moments.
He's having his Joker. He looks like he's having his Joker origin story in real time. What the hell is this guy? What? Why is this here? Why is anything here? Why does it hurt so much?
Anyway, he's just advanced. He's just being talking some shit to the guys he's feuding with right now, which is The Wall. I don't know anything about The Wall, just that the fact that is his name. And there was a super iconic WCW segment where Hulk Hogan is cutting a promo and he sees a guy at the top of a tall building over in the distance. And he's like, "It's The Wall, brother." Even though there's no way Hogan could possibly know that it is The Wall in particular. Cool. He's so far away. Very funny shit. Anyway, The Wall and Chavo Guerrero Hugh Morris got some problems with him. And so he's going to be in a tag match with his good buddy, Rey Mysterio. That's upcoming.
Rey deserves better always. Why?
You just be happy you didn't have to see him on this show, because this would have been after he got unmasked in WCW.
Wait, wasn't he a heel when he got unmasked in WCW? Wasn't this like the 2 seconds he actually went heel?
I think he would have. I think he turned babyface back.
Okay. I just remember you mentioned that he went heel for a hot second.
But you don't have to see little babyface unmasked Rey Mysterio.
That sounds deeply painful and aggravating, and I think I probably would have had a stroke if I had to sit through that. So thank you, you, RN Jesus.
Rey Mysterio, one of the few luchadors who, after losing his mask in a match, just puts it back on and nobody gives a shit.
Well, because it doesn't fucking count, because it's WCW and they don't fucking respect the craft anyway.
True.
They don't deserve that kind of just dignity. Well, anyway.
Anywho, we get backstage. We got Scott Steiner. He got a fucking metal pipe set from somewhere, and he walks up to this random backstage worker, and he's like, "Hey, you know where Kevin Nash is?"
No, fucking drops him.
No, yeah, he just kicks his ass.
Yeah, it was so. See, that was actually unironically entertaining. Is Big Papa Pump just asking some random dude who works backstage if he's seen Nash, and when the answer is no, he's just like, "Fuck you anyway," and just tosses him to the ground.
Yeah, he drops his pipe for it, but then thankfully Madeja picks it back up. That pipe will be important later.
Yeah, I guess it will in some ways. Anyway, yeah, it was legit. Yeah, watching Big Papa Pump storm through the backstage area actually has some comedic value, so thanks for that bit of entertainment, I guess.
It does. We get a video package detailing the long and sordid backstory of Canyon and Diamond Dallas Page. They used to be friends. They were the terror from the Jersey Shore.
And now they don't like each other. And then
DDP, and then Canyon got hurt in a match, and then for some reason he betrayed DDP after that, and then he took DDP out of action, and then stole his whole shtick like some weird stalker dude, and then DDP came back, and he's like, "Bro," and now they're fighting. There we go. That covered the whole bit.
Yeah, you did a lot more fucking efficiently than that long-winded ass video package that was there for no reason did. Why was that there?
It feels like it was setting up the DDP promo later, but it was still way too long and explaining everything.
Oh, so we'll explain why that's happening, but not any of the other random shit going on in this episode. No. Thanks. I really wanted my mid-card explained to me in a long-winded video package.
Yeah. Then we get, oh boy, Sean Stasiak versus Chuck Palumbo.
Who? What? I don't recall. It slipped right the fuck out of my memory.
Right. It was kind of long and kind of terrible.
Yeah.
And again, all the natural born thrillers all just seem like extremely generic dudes with no character or personality, and I don't care about their Civil War.
Oh man,
This is the worst version of Marvel Civil War,
and that's including the terrible ass original comic. Yeah, we said it.
Shouldn't be that hot of a take, but it probably is.
Marvel fans, man, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Anyway,
the most memorable part is probably where they kind of fuck up the finish. You could assume where Sean Stasiak rolls up Palumbo, but he's in the ropes, so the ref is like, I can't count the pin, and so 5 seconds later they redo the roll up, and Sean Stasiak pins Palumbo.
That's so funny. Look, props for noticing the foot on the ring or whatever, I guess, and correcting. You did your job, basic. It also cracks me up too that we get this match of two former friends who used to be in a group together right after totally unrelated video package about two former friends who used to be in a group, partnership, whatever, together.
Yeah, you got confused for a second there.
I
thought
did!
These were connected storylines, and they're not.
I did, because these guys are such blank slates. I was just like, is one of those DDP? Maybe. Sure. Whatever. I was so done by this point. I just couldn't afford the mental capacity to distinguish between those two entities.
Yeah, right. Anyway, Stasiak gets the W. Who I don't care.
I don't give a shit. And now DDP comes out.
Here comes DDP wearing a Sopranos t-shirt.
Angry. He mad.
Homie showing off how Jersey he is. Then he basically also then recaps the Canyon stuff again. And he's like, nobody steals from me. DDP. And then out comes old Jeff Jarrett. If you don't know what if you followed on this podcast before, you might think of Jeff Jarrett as country singer extraordinaire. Well, he's given up on that character now. Now he's cut his hair short and he goes around saying the word slap nuts all the time.
This is not the same man. I'm convinced these are two different men going by the same name. It's fucking, there's no way I see little to no facial resemblance. He looks like he's aged backwards a tiny bit. I guess fucking like getting a spiky haircut in the early aughts really did give you a little bit of extra youth or something. This is not the same character. It doesn't feel like the same person. I'm just so, what the fuck?
Anyway, they yell at each other, and I tried to make as many innuendos as I could think of, considering the jokes on the fact that DDP is part of his like catchphrases. He talks about how he bangs people, referring to hitting them with the diamond cutter. And then, of course, you got Jeff Jarrett yelling slap nuts. So I was just trying to find ways to make innuendo jokes out of the fact that they both have that those are their catchphrases.
Far more entertaining than what we got on here. Also, like, I do have to give Jeff Jarrett, or not DDP credit that like half of the things he said just got like chant pops with the audience. Mm-hmm. Like it's like half the shit seems so random, but I guess his entire dialogue tree is so tropified and well known at this point that the audience is able to just chant along with half his fucking speech. So I guess that takes a certain level of like undeniable popularity and charisma. So kudos to DDP for that. Oh
yeah, dude, DDP, one of the stalwart baby faces of WCW.
I have to say, like, that is a legitimately impressive feat to get the crowd chanting along that hardcore with half the shit you say. Mm-hmm. Good on you, buddy. I'm proud of you.
And then anyway, the whole promo is an excuse for Canyon to run out and try to sneak attack DDP.
Yeah,
and
DDP
yet he fails.
He ESPs that shit and turns and no, it doesn't even turn. Just without looking, fucking elbows Canyon from behind.
Dude got fucking eyes in the back of his head for this. Yeah. And then he bangs Canyon, hits him with the diamond cutter, but then unfortunately, that was a ruse for then Jeff Jarrett to get into the ring and smash his guitar over DD. He gives him the old El Kabong.
You can really tell Vince Russo left his legacy on WCW because they looked at Vince Russo's tendency for messy endings and were like, hey, what if we just did that as everything? What if just everything were messy? What if nothing made goddamn structural sense?
But have you considered, David, that messy is chaos and chaos gets the ratings? Crash TV.
It's extreme, bro.
Extreme.
Kill
anyway.
Me. Oh, God.
So then we get to our main event. But right before that, as I mentioned before, Scott Steiner has almost zero problem finding Kevin Nash's room where he was filming his hostage video.
Yeah, he's fucking like following an extension cord, like a dog on a scent.
And he just kicks open the door. That was pretty sweet.
Steiner is such a himbo, dude. I love it.
Yeah, so he runs in there and he finds the camera. He's like, who's running the camera? Who's here? He's got to be here. And then thankfully, another CRT monitor is in the room. And it shows and I want to know who's filming this, is Kevin Nash has taken David Flair, his hostage, I'm going to remind you, and he's just walking him through the hallways to get to the ring.
Yeah, I don't know how he's doing this unimpeded. Is there no security in this goddamn building?
No, all 12 of them went to not escort Dustin Rhodes out.
True. Yeah, they actually all went. They all decided to just fuck this in the middle of escorting Dustin Rhodes and just left to go get a pint or something.
I guess. So we get to the match, and Kevin Nash is dragging David Flair to the ring. And out comes Ric Flair again. And he's like, hey, no, hey, leave him alone. And Kevin Nash is like, I'm a power bomb your son. And then he does.
He does it.
And after that, he kind of leaves David Flair to be taken away by the rest of the Magnificent Seven. And out comes Scott Steiner to have their match. And honestly, who gives a shit about the match, though? It barely happens. And
it barely happens. What I love is in the middle of the match, we cut to a video feed. I guess now we have the ability to like cut to video and not just film it on the big screen.
Yeah.
But we cut to a video feed of Flair and the Magnificent Seven getting David into a limo and, sending him off. And David's fucking like whining from the limo, like, it hurts.
Yeah. And then Ric Flair is like, well, Kevin Nash has fulfilled his end of the bargain, so fuck him. I'm about to go turn on him.
Yeah, no, well, he specifically, this is what I love. This is the highlight of the episode for me, is he closed the door on David. The limo starts to drive away. Then he turns around, looks at Magnificent Seven and goes, "Go kill Nash!
Go kill Nash!
Go kill Nash!" It was so of course they're all and Shivani then we cut back to the match, and Shivani immediately comments on what we just saw. So, like, who got the video feed of that? Did we see that up there? Did they play it?
Does Nash know? Does that mean Nash saw it?
Explain what's going on here. How does any of the live video feed in this fucking arena work? What?
Good question. So Nash and Steiner just kind of continue to like fuck around. The match is structured like they know they only have to wrestle for 5 minutes to no conclusion.
Yeah, which is a point you made of, sure is weird they're fighting for the title when they're already going to be fighting for the title in like 6 days on the pay-per-view. So, I sure wonder what the outcome here is going to be. This isn't a fucking repetitive, useless match.
No. But first, okay, the Magnificent Seven show up. And then they get immediately stopped by, I guess, Kevin Nash's bros. The Babyfaces all show up to stop them immediately. So that part is completely ruined.
It really is funny that Kevin Nash was known for being one of the arch heels of early WCW, and then turned face and is like, I'm a good guy now.
He's like one of the last baby faces around here.
I stand for things, and I believe in justice, and don't be a bully. Except I'm gonna bully.
That's funny. Is that you bring that up because he did say in the promo about he called the Magnificent Seven bullies, and it's like you're the one who fucking took a hostage.
Yeah, he's like, you're not gonna bully people anymore, Flair. We're doing things my way. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm the only one who gets to bully people around here, I guess. What is the logic here? And so now he has all of his friends bullying the Magnificent Seven, who are coming to exact, kind of understandable revenge for the fact that, he kidnapped Ric Flair's son.
Yeah, you're supposed to kind of see this as fun retribution for Ric Flair being a shitty heel asshole boss. And maybe I would feel a little bit more of that if I actually watched on a regular basis. But even if I didn't, kidnapping his son feels kind of fucked up in comparison.
It's so weird, dude. Why was 90s? Why was wrestling up until the mid 2010s really weird about not understanding that doing shitty things while being a babyface doesn't make them morally okay? Why is that just a running thread?
I would personally choose to blame Stone Cold Steve Austin for where that is in terms of 2001, at least.
Okay, that's fair.
Because him being a shithead to Vince McMahon was like the biggest thing ever.
Yeah. And then people saw that and decided to carbon copy it without thinking for a single second why it actually worked as well as it did in the way it did.
Pretty much.
Who needs to think in wrestling? No. God. Oh. Let's just get this
anyway, eventually Ric Flair runs out to interfere too, and that is what causes a DQ. The ref throws that match out after Ric Flair starts throwing some chops that Nash doesn't even sell. And then he power bombs Ric Flair too. Get the whole family set here. But then Steiner grabs that pipe, that metal pipe, and just goes to town on Kevin Nash's knee.
Yep. Yeah. Which he didn't even perform that attack very well. It looked light and fake, low key, and Nash is like, cartoon selling it. Like, yeah, I'm sure you're in a lot of pain right now, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And so the show ends with Steiner beating Nash's knee to death and then jaw-jacking the crowd. That's how we end the show.
Oh, God.
By Super Brawl this Sunday.
Yeah, they kept having, like, random Super Brawl pop-ups throughout the show. It was distracting.
It was.
Oh, man. This is some of the worst wrestling we've watched in a long time.
Yep, it was rough going.
That was rough.
Almost a little bit rougher than I thought it was going to be.
Look, this feels repetitive in some way after I gave my official WCW wrap-up last week. But who cares about repetitiveness with WCW in 2001? So I'm going to do it anyway. This is so fascinating to me because in both kayfabe and IRL, what is presented to me here via this episode, both this episode specifically with the A story it has, and with the episode generally representing what the fuck WCW was in 2001 before they got bought out by WWF, is a company in shambles. And that's so fascinating to me because WCW in kayfabe got big on a storyline about a company in shambles. And from day one, from their inception, they've always a little bit been a company in shambles. WCW's story is one of a company, a messy, disorganized company, floundering, not knowing quite how to keep itself sustained, and trying to ride that roller coaster until it eventually flies the fuck off the rails and kills everybody. But it seriously, it's so insane to me that it had to have been it's wild to me that it wasn't on purpose that this episode was presenting a company in shambles, a company slowly falling apart. Hell, if they want to do this intelligently, they could have done all the same shit, but add a little bit of subtext about, we know this is the end of our company, and here comes WWF to save the day, or whatever, and actually make it about something, make the chaos feel like it means something, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel like this chaos is intentional. It doesn't feel like it's trying to say anything. It's a accidentally very poignant kayfabe visualization of what this company was like to work for its entire run. And here it is, the perfect bookend and the final death knells. And hell, the dependence on interference is even another, as we were talking about earlier, that's another great visualization of this too, in that things can't be done cleanly. There's unrest and anarchy and chaos. Anarchy doesn't mean chaos, but like unrest and chaos in the locker room, and nobody can get along, and nothing's being done cleanly. Somebody, please save this company. It carries that subtext very much by accident when that was really what was going on. And if they wanted to make smart writing decisions, God, they should have just leaned into that.
And instead, it's all just chaos because that's what you do. That's wrestling in the Attitude Era.
The gospel according to Vince Russo.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking men.
Ah, boy.
Look, I have to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I
was gonna say this is definitely as fun as it was to do something with literally no prep time. Holy moly! What a rough particular episode that we have acquired here today.
I promised that by the end of this all, I would make this mean something, because, dear God, this was a painful one to sit through. Random, by golly, and what a random one for our fucking 50th episode. But all that said, if I may be permitted to become a little sentimental here, there was something a little bit magical about slogging through this asswad of a show, in that, in some ways, it brings it back to where Austin and I started. Not only on this podcast, but as friends, of sitting down, sitting back, whatever, and just riffing on media things that we liked. That's kind of been our friendship from the beginning. We kind of have our own little custom MST3K going, whether that be, when we fucking first met at OTL shit, doing talking, musicals and stuff together and making jokes about that shit, or sitting down with our friend group and making fun of old, shitty, really bigoted PSAs from the 60s, or starting off on this pod. Yeah, that's a throwback. Or starting off on this podcast and, just starting off just kind of riffing on the shit we saw before we gained a lot of structure. Accidental theme there. So in some ways, this kind of is perfect for our 50th, because it brings us back to where this all started. And it's cool to experience that feeling once again every now and then. Cool. It is nice a little bit as a commemorative thing. It's cool to share that with you, my friend, and it's cool to share with everybody listening.
Yep. And it has been a fun ride to 50 episodes. And of course, here's the 50 more, gotta get the old triple digits.
Baby. Oh, when we get to Hundo, it's gonna be great. And we promise you it'll be a better show than that.
I don't want to make that promise.
Oh, come on. We can't randomize Hundo. We got to do something big and extravagant for Hundo.
That's a year away. I'm not thinking about it now.
Let's not think about it right now.
But let's start the road to 100 with next week. And next week, we finish an arc that has meant so much to me to get through. The NXT Horsewomen era. We come to our conclusion at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. And I ended our last bit with the NXT one talking a lot about my feelings on this storyline. Is it meant to like the larger, broader picture? But now we've reached the part that probably has the most personal meaning to me, because next time our grand finale to this arc is my personal favorite match of all time.
Oh shit.
And I've been excited to share that on this podcast since we started this arc.
Damn. That's good shit. I can't believe we're at the end of Women's Revolution, one of the best arcs we've ever covered. Oh man, this is going to be good.
Yep. Until then, David, hit our plugs.
Absolutely. Friends, my dear friends, thank you for joining us on the 50th episode of the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast. We are so delighted to have you always, so especially delighted to have you join us for this specific installment of our show. If you are a returning listener, viewer, what have you of ours, thank you so much for once again welcoming us back into your eardrums, your eyeballs, for yet another round of the wacky, wild world of wrestling. If you are brand new, welcome to our show. We're so happy to have you join us right at the road to Hundo, the back half to Hundo starts. We're so happy to have all of you with us. We hope you've had a great time. We here at the Noobs and Knockouts podcast like to think we cater to both noobs and knockouts alike. So whether you're a veteran of the wrestling fandom or brand new to the whole idea of this crazy, wild thing called wrestling, we hope you've had a great time with us and feel welcoming and feel like things are accessible around here. If you have had a great time and you would like to continue to join us and you're not entirely sure how to do so, well, not to worry, my friends. I have you covered. First of all, you can follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. We are the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on YouTube. Find us, hit subscribe, ring that bell, make sure it turns a nice little salad color so you get a notification every single time we drop a new episode. Check it all out. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Add us to your playlist. Check out our playlist. Austin is kind enough to, on YouTube, organize all of the arcs we follow into their own individual special little playlists. So if there are any specific storylines you want to follow through on, just linear, straight through, not jump around or anything, you can do that. It's really nice. Check all of that out on YouTube. And plus, if you watch the more recent episodes, you get to see our lovely faces on screen as well. We started incorporating a video element to this all.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, however, much more a fan of the audio-only experience, well, we also have you covered there, my friends. You can find us on 3 of the best places to find your podcasts, and that are Spotify, Apple, and Google. Check us out on all 3. Download us, rate us, review us, whatever the hell you do to tell those good old algorithms that these guys are fun to listen to. I like listening to them. More people should like listening to them as well. Maybe push them out there a little more, recommend them. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a good time. Check us all out on Spotify, Apple, and Google if you are a fan of the audio-only experience. It's a great time to put into your headphones and just vibe out with us for a little bit, huh? We are also on social media. There are kind of 3 main places you can get in contact with us. First of all, we are on Twitter. I'm pointing it now on screen if you're on YouTube. At Noobs and Knox Pod on Twitter. That's Noobs, the letter N, Knox Pod on Twitter. We like to that's kind of our main venue of social media. We like to engage with the broader wrestling fandom. We like to drop memes, drop discourse, get involved in just kind of wrestling current events and discussions of what's going on. The big thing is we like to drop, or we post every single time man, I'm losing my script here. We post every time we drop a new episode. And of course, the highlight of our Twitter is Austin live tweeting his weekly wrestling watching experience. My friend, what is on the docket coming up?
Of course, as is every week, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT is AEW Dynamite. I'm wearing an AEW shirt right now on the video format. Anyway, It is the one wrestling show I most consistently watch live every week, so I go ahead and just live tweet about that. And occasionally David will get involved as well.
Yeah,
he's
baby.
also regularly watching Dynamite these days.
Yeah, I'm the substitute, baby. Put me in, coach.
Yeah. And as on top of that, we have the regular WWE, AEW, and Impact Wrestling pay-per-views that we also cover every single time. Next upcoming is WWE Survivor Series, the one night a year where Raw and SmackDown go head to head, except for all those other nights where that happens.
Super shows don't exist.
They don't. And this year is no different. We're gonna have a Raw versus SmackDown men's elimination tag match, a women's elimination tag match, and we already know for sure that we are going to get Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, versus Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, plus Big E, the WWE Champion, versus Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion. It's going to be pretty lit.
Oh, yeah.
As well with more matches probably to come. And that is, again, November 21st live on Peacock. Then you have Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill. That is January 8th, 2022. That will be available live on pay-per-view, but of course it's still several months away. So in fact, there isn't really any information to give for the time being, but we will continue to mention it on a weekly basis until it gets here. And then AEW, they will have, by the time this episode drops, they will have just finished AEW Full Gear. I can't speak to it because we are recording this before that happens, but that'll probably be a really great show. And hopefully future me will not have to walk back that opinion. And
I highly doubt that.
Mm-hmm. And then their next pay-per-view will be sometime in 2022. They also, like Impact Wrestling, AEW only does 4 pay-per-views a year. So we really don't have any new information about AEW's next pay-per-view. But when we do...
affordable business model.
It's true. We will, in fact, be bringing that up. But it also true, based affordable business model. I remember the days when WWE was doing monthly pay-per-views for $60 pay-per-view. Yikes. That was not great. I did a lot of piracy of them days. Anyway, that is what we will be live tweeting about going forward.
Yeah, so be sure to check all of that out. It's a great time to watch Austin do his live tweeting. I'd like to say it's a pretty great time to watch me do live tweeting. But when it's Austin holding the reins, usually I have to say from experience, great person to spend your time watching wrestling with. So even if it's in a digital only format, check that out. It's super fun to keep up with our live tweets on our Twitter. The next place you can get in contact with us is, of course, our email account. You can email us at noobsandknockoutspod@gmail.com. That's noobs, the word and this time, knockoutspod@gmail.com. Come say hi to us. Tell us what you think of the show, what you like, what you don't like, suggestions or requests for what you want to see on future episodes, special episodes, arcs, whatever the hell else tickles your fancy in the wrestling world. Start discourse with us. Tell us that our hot takes are really dumb or that they're really smart. I'd kind of prefer the latter, but do you. Tell us, of course, how lovely and beautiful and sexy you think our voices are and how they lull you to sleep at night after night. Just generally come say hi to us on our email. We love people saying hi. We'd love to say hi back. So if you want to get in more direct long form contact with us, hit us up at noobsandknockoutspod@gmail.com. And of course, finally, we are on Patreon. We are also the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on Patreon. $1 a month gets you early access to episodes and a shout out at the end of each episode.
See y'all next time.
Hasta luego.